Have you ever looked at that cool, shaded corner of your garden and thought, nothing will grow there? Well, it's time to rethink that, because there are actually a number of vegetables that thrive in the shade. That's right. A sun-soaked garden isn't necessary to grow fresh, homegrown produce. Some plants actually prefer softer, indirect light because it helps keep them tender, prevents them from bolting, and ensures the soil stays moist for longer. Today we're going to dive into 12 vegetables that do wonderfully in low light conditions. By the end of this guide, you'll be armed with helpful tips for turning every shady spot in your garden into a productive green oasis. 1. Spinach and lettuce. The perfect pair for shade. When most people imagine a vegetable garden, they envision rows of plants basking in full sunlight. But here's a tip that experienced gardeners know well. Some of the best leafy greens actually do better in the shade. Take spinach, for example. This hardy green has been a garden staple for centuries and prefers cooler, gentler growing conditions. If you've ever experienced spinach bolting or flowering prematurely and turning bitter in the heat of summer, that's because spinach is not a fan of hot weather. In partial shade, the soil stays cooler and moisture is retained longer, allowing the spinach to stay healthy, lush, and productive for much longer. Similarly, lettuce thrives in shady spots, and it might even prefer it. Lettuce is valued for its tender, crisp leaves, and it grows best when shielded from the harsh heat of the midday sun. Too much direct sun can cause lettuce to wilt, dry out, or become bitter. But under the gentle filtering of sunlight, lettuce grows sweet and delicate, perfect for harvesting all season long. Both spinach and lettuce have shallow root systems, meaning they don't require deep soil. They just need consistent moisture and nutrient-rich soil. And since shaded soil retains water more efficiently, you'll find that you'll need to water them less often, leaving you with more time to enjoy the fruits, or rather, the greens, of your labor. So if you have a shady corner by a tree, a fence, or tucked behind taller plants, don't let that space go unused. Spinach and lettuce will happily thrive in these quiet, shady spots, turning them into thriving patches of edible greenery. 2. Kale. The shade-loving superfood. Kale has earned its reputation as a superfood, packed with vitamins and minerals, but it's also one of the most shade-tolerant vegetables you can grow. While kale can grow well in full sun, it doesn't actually require it. In fact, it thrives even more in partial shade. In hot, full sun conditions, kale's leaves can become tough and bitter. However, in the cool, indirect light of a shaded area, the kale's leaves stay tender, flavorful, and sweet. This makes shady spots an ideal environment for growing kale, especially during the warmer months. Kale is a resilient plant, capable of withstanding cooler temperatures, pest infestations, and even less than ideal soil conditions. It continues to produce fresh, edible leaves even when other leafy greens have long since given up for the season. Since you can harvest kale incrementally by picking the outer leaves while allowing the inner leaves to grow, one single kale plant can feed you for months. For gardeners in warmer climates, shade-grown kale is a game-changer. While kale grown in full sun may wilt or become tough during the summer heat, kale grown in partial shade remains vibrant, strong, and flavorful much longer. Both curly kale and lacinato kale, also known as dinosaur or Tuscan kale, are particularly well suited for these shaded conditions. So if you've got a spot in your garden where the sun only shines for a few hours each day, you've found the perfect place for kale. With its vibrant color, impressive nutrient content, and low-maintenance growing habits, kale is the ultimate easy-care, high-yield plant. Perfect for those shady corners in your garden. 3. Swiss chard, a colorful performer for the shade. If you're looking for a vegetable that's as beautiful as it is practical, Swiss chard should be at the top of your list. With its vibrant red, gold, orange, and pink stems and glossy green leaves, it's truly a showstopper in any garden. And the best part? Swiss chard thrives in partial shade. Unlike many vegetables that require full sun to grow, chard is naturally adaptable to cooler, shadier spots. It tolerates dimmer light with ease and continues to produce lush, tender leaves that stay mild for months. In fact, the cooler temperatures and filtered sunlight prevent the bitterness and wilting that often occur in full sun, making shade-grown chard even more flavorful. But Swiss chard isn't just resilient, it's also decorative. Many gardeners plant it as an ornamental crop alongside flowers or as a border plant, as it adds beautiful color and texture to the garden. In shaded areas, you can even plant it closer together for a dense tropical feel while still ensuring a steady food source. Versatile in the kitchen, Swiss chard can be used in salads, sautés, soups, or as a spinach substitute. And the best part? Shade-grown chard is often sweeter and softer, making it the perfect base for fresh, flavorful dishes. So, if you're looking for a plant that adds color, texture, and long-lasting harvest to your garden, even in the darkest corners, Swiss chard is the perfect choice. It's a prime example of how shade can be just as productive and visually appealing as full sun. 4. Arugula, the peppery green. That flourishes in the shade arugula, also known as rocket, is a bold, peppery green that adds a punch to salads, sandwiches, and pasta dishes. However, what many gardeners don't realize is that arugula performs best in partial shade. That's right, this gourmet green doesn't need the full sunlight to thrive. Arugula is a cool weather crop that struggles in high heat. When it's exposed to too much sunlight, it bolts quickly, sending up flowers and turning the leaves bitter. But when grown in a shaded area, the soil stays cooler and moisture is retained longer, which slows down this bolting process. The result is tender, flavorful leaves that last much longer through the growing season. Another great thing about arugula is how fast it grows. You can harvest a crop in just 30 days, making it perfect for gardeners looking for quick results. Due to its rapid growth, many gardeners plant arugula in succession, sowing seeds every couple of weeks to maintain a steady supply of fresh greens. Shady spots are ideal for this technique because they extend the growing time of each batch, allowing for a longer harvest period before the plants start to bolt. Pro tip: plant arugula underneath taller crops like tomatoes, beans, or corn. These larger plants act as natural umbrellas, filtering sunlight and creating the perfect growing conditions for arugula. This companion planting technique not only saves space, but also creates an ideal microclimate for arugula to flourish. So, if you've been searching for a fast-growing, flavorful green that thrives in shady spots, arugula is your answer. Even the least sunny corners of your garden can yield fresh, gourmet greens with this versatile plant. 5. Broccoli, the shade's hidden hero. When people think of broccoli, they often imagine rows of green heads soaking up the full summer sun. However, one little-known fact is that broccoli is actually quite shade-tolerant. In fact, growing it in partial shade can enhance its flavor and encourage stronger, healthier growth. Broccoli is a cool season vegetable that prefers moderate temperatures. Excessive sun or heat can cause it to bolt or produce small, loose heads that lack flavor. But when grown in filtered light or partial shade, broccoli develops more slowly and steadily, resulting in larger, tighter, and more flavorful heads. The shade also protects broccoli from stress, preventing excessive heat and rapid evaporation from the soil. This creates a more stable environment for the plant, resulting in tender florets and a milder, sweeter flavor, unlike sun-exposed broccoli, which often turns tough and bitter. Many experienced gardeners find that their best broccoli harvests come from plants that receive morning sun, followed by afternoon shade. The flavor difference is noticeable too. Shade-grown broccoli tends to have a milder sweetness and a softer texture, making it ideal for roasting, steaming, or enjoying in various dishes. Even picky eaters will appreciate the improved taste of shade-grown broccoli. Additionally, broccoli remains one of the most nutrient-dense vegetables you can grow, packed with vitamin C and K, fiber, and antioxidants. Growing it in the shade doesn't reduce these benefits. It simply helps the plant stay healthier and more productive over a longer period. So, if you've struggled with broccoli bolting or turning bitter in the sun, try growing it in partial shade. This small change can lead to a healthier, more flavorful crop, and proves that even vegetables traditionally thought of as sun-loving can thrive in the shade. 6. Cauliflower thriving in cool, gentle shade. Cauliflower often earns a reputation for being somewhat tricky to grow, and it's true that it has some specific needs. However, here's a little secret that seasoned gardeners know. Cauliflower actually does best in partial shade. A bit of relief from the harsh sunlight can make the difference between stunted, uneven heads and the large, creamy white curds that gardeners strive for. When cauliflower is exposed to intense sunlight and high temperatures, it can experience stress, leading to bolting or the development of loose, discolored heads. On the other hand, partial shade offers a more stable environment, cooler air, slower evaporation, and softer light. These gentler conditions allow the plant to focus on steady, healthy growth, rather than reacting to the stresses of heat or dryness. Consistency is crucial when growing cauliflower. It doesn't handle stress well, so fluctuations in temperature or moisture can quickly disrupt its growth. Shaded spots naturally provide the steady microclimate that cauliflower thrives in. Moist soil, even temperatures, and protection from midday sun. This makes it an ideal plant for areas where other crops may struggle. In warmer climates, shade is almost a necessity for cauliflower to thrive. Plant it beside taller crops like pole beans, sweet corn, or sunflowers, which can serve as living sunshades while optimizing your garden space. These taller plants create a cooler microclimate that helps cauliflower stay balanced and productive. So, while cauliflower might seem like a high-maintenance vegetable, it's really just picky about its environment. By providing it with filtered sunlight, consistent watering, and shelter from intense heat, you can transform cauliflower from a challenging crop to a dependable one. Sometimes the right amount of shade can turn this finicky vegetable into a flourishing, flavorful success. 7. Peas, shade's climbing champions. Peas are well known for their love of cool weather, but many gardeners overlook just how well they perform in partial shade. These elegant climbers are perfectly suited to sheltered, cooler spots, where they grow steadily and produce sweet, tender pods without the stress of intense sunlight. In fact, peas often do better when not exposed to the full force of the sun. Too much sunlight can cause them to dry out, stop flowering, or produce pods prematurely. A bit of afternoon shade helps keep the soil cooler and the plants happier, extending their harvest season and improving flavor. The ideal setup for peas is morning sun, followed by gentle, filtered light in the afternoon. Peas are also one of the most space-efficient crops you can grow. Because they climb, you can easily grow them in shady corners or narrow garden beds. A simple trellis, fence, or set of poles provides all the support they need to reach upward toward the light. Many gardeners even plant peas beneath taller crops like corn or tomatoes, where the dappled sunlight creates an ideal microclimate for the peas to thrive. The beauty of shade-grown peas is that they mature more gradually, providing a steady and extended harvest. By regularly picking the pods, you encourage more production, meaning you'll enjoy fresh, crisp peas for weeks on end. Peas are not only delicious, but also highly nutritious. They are packed with vitamins A, C, and K, along with plant-based protein and fiber. Shade doesn't diminish any of these health benefits. In fact, it helps the plant stay lush and productive throughout the season. So, if you've been hesitant to plant peas in the less sunny parts of your garden, it's time to reconsider. With a little support and partial shade, peas will climb happily, providing a steady supply of crisp, flavorful pods, proving that even the shadiest spots in your garden can be full of life. 8. Celery, the crisp champion of the shade. While celery is often considered a challenging vegetable for beginners, experienced gardeners know it's actually one of the most suitable crops for shaded gardens. This refreshing, crisp vegetable thrives in cool, partially shaded areas where the soil remains evenly moist. In full sunlight, celery tends to become coarse, fibrous, or stressed. However, in shaded conditions, it grows more consistently and produces tender, flavorful stalks, perfect for salads, soups, or juicing. Celery's affinity for shade comes from its preference for moisture and cool conditions. Originally from marshy environments, celery is naturally adapted to growing in areas with abundant water and moderate temperatures. Shaded garden beds replicate these conditions more effectively than sun-exposed plots, as the shade helps slow down evaporation and stabilizes the moisture levels in the soil. Adding compost or other organic materials to the soil further enhances water retention and nutrient content, ensuring that celery has the ideal conditions for growth. Celery also has a longer maturation period compared to many vegetables, and excessive heat or direct sunlight can cause premature bolting or tough, bitter stalks. Partial shade moderates temperature fluctuations and encourages steady, gradual growth, resulting in firm, succulent stems with superior flavor and texture. In culinary applications, shade-grown celery stands out for its subtle sweetness and delicate aroma. It's perfect for soups, stews, stir-fries, and even raw dishes. Nutritionally, celery remains an excellent source of fiber, potassium, vitamin K, and antioxidants. And its quality is often enhanced when grown in the stress-free environment provided by shade. Celery grows well in mixed gardens, particularly alongside other shade-loving plants such as leafy greens, peas, or herbs. This type of companion planting not only maximizes space, but also creates a balanced microclimate that benefits all the plants involved. In short, shaded areas in your garden should not be overlooked. Celery's ability to thrive in cool, moist, and low-light conditions makes it an exceptional choice for these spaces. With patience, consistent watering, and well-prepared soil, celery can reward gardeners with abundant, flavorful harvests, a testament to the quiet productivity of shaded gardens. Shade isn't a limitation, it's an opportunity. When cultivated with the right crops, even the dimmest corners of your garden can become thriving, productive sanctuaries of greenery and nourishment.